Thank you very much, Andrea. Very much appreciated. Thank you. This evening, we honour two outstanding scientists, Janet Davison Rowley and Mary Claire King. Their research has advanced the scientific understanding of how cancer occurs and how the risk of cancer is inherited. The work of this year's Pearl Meister Greengard Prize recipients has revolutionized the improved diagnosis, treatment and prevention of cancer. Janet Davison Rowley is the Blum Rice Distinguished Service Professor at the University of Chicago, which has long been her academic home. She in fact did her undergraduate studies there and received her medical degree also at Chicago and took her first research position there in the 1950s. In 1962, she did travel to England for 1 year for training in genetics, but soon scuttled back to the University of Chicago, where she began her studies of cancers that affect white blood cells. Now, the human body is made up of many billions of cells, and our health depends on the ability of those cells to grow and divide in an orderly fashion. But a cancer cell's behavior is neither regulated nor orderly. A cancer cell undergoes uncontrolled growth and division until it forms a mass of cells which we know as the tumor. And this tumor expands and disturbs the function of normal tissues and organs, or upsets the balance of cells that make up the different tissues, or, for example, the blood. In the 1970s, Dr. Rowley was adapting and improving new techniques that could be used to study chromosomes. These are the structures in the nucleus of the cell which are made up of the genetic material DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, which I should say was discovered as the hereditary material here in Rockefeller University in 1944. Some cancer cells harbour strange, rather odd, and defective chromosomes. But at the time, these were widely assumed to be just random artifacts, part of the general chaos that you see in a cancer cell. But Janet Rowley discovered order within that apparent chaos. Studies of cells from patients with one type of leukemia revealed that two chromosomes had exchanged pieces of DNA. This genetic rearrangement is known as a translocation. And she found that it was the same in cells from different patients suffering from the same disease. And when she looked at cells from patients with other forms of leukemia and lymphoma, she found other translocations of the chromosomes. Her findings were controversial at first, but mounting evidence was in her favor. Many more cancer-associated translocations have been discovered since, and chromosomal analysis is now a standard tool used to diagnose tumors and to prescribe treatment. Her research then helped to show that translocations interfere with genes that control cell division, which of course goes wrong during cancer, and therefore is indicative of their role in causing cancer. And her success here really did pave the way for the development of Gleevec, the innovative cancer drug that targets specific molecular feature, a specific feature of cancer cells. Gleevec blocks an abnormal protein that results from a chromosomal translocation in CML, in a certain type of leukemia. Her achievements, which are really many and great, have been recognized by an Albert Lasker Award and a National Medal of Science. And in 2009, she received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is the US's highest civilian honor. Mary Claire King. She is American Cancer Society Professor of Medicine and Genome Sciences at the University of Washington, which she joined in 1995. And since 1998, she's also been an associate of the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center in Seattle. Previously, she was a professor in genetics and epidemiology at the University of California in Berkeley. Dr. King studied mathematics as an undergraduate. Actually, mathematics is quite often chosen eventually by those that become geneticists. They're both rather abstract subjects. And proceeded to study genetics at UC Berkeley. It was in her 1973 thesis that she suggested what is now common wisdom, that the genomes of chimpanzees and of humans are 99% identical. That figure still amazes many, many people, 99% identical. Her discovery showed that human and chimp predecessors diverged from a common ancestor about 5 million years ago rather than the assumed 10 million years. In 1974, she began studying DNA from families affected by breast cancer to determine whether this disease could be hereditary. And in 1990, she and her colleagues located the first inherited breast cancer gene, which she named BRCA1, BRCA1. Their analysis suggested that around 5% or a little more, depending on the population, of breast cancer and ovarian cancer cases are hereditary, a finding with significant implications for diagnosis and for treatment. In 1997, Dr. King and her colleagues cloned an important gene for hereditary deafness, and they're now using all the latest genomic tools to probe other diseases, deafness and schizophrenia, for example. Not only is she highly renowned for use for genetics of disease, she's used DNA sequencing to identify victims of human rights violations. In the 1980s, she worked with organizations in Argentina that called on her expertise to formally reunite orphaned and kidnapped children with their families. She also carried out DNA identification for the UN War Crimes Tribunal. And in these efforts, she has demonstrated dramatically the power of science in advancing humanitarian causes. Dr. Rowley and Dr. King are both members of the National Academy of Sciences and the Institute of Medicine, and they have both received the Gruber Prize in Genetics. It's a great pleasure, indeed an honor, to have both of them with us here at Rockefeller University tonight, and to present them with the 2010 Pearl Meister Greengard Prize. And perhaps I could now ask Mary Claire, Janet, and Andrea to join me on the stage. You're going to do a presentation. I'm going to read. I have to read something and you read something. Okay? I'm going to read a couple of excerpts from the citation that is being presented to our recipients this evening, and then Andrea will follow me with a brief statement and the actual presentation. You are both being honored. You are both being honored for advancing the science of genetics and for making essential contributions to what is now a fundamental principle in biology and medicine, the understanding that cancer is a disease of genes. You have both been mentors to young investigators, role models for women pursuing careers in science, and champions of biomedical research worldwide. Thank you for your momentous discoveries, your dedication, your leadership in the global scientific community, and your steadfast commitment to the betterment of humankind. Andrea.
Thank you, Dr. Nurse. And it is my distinct honor this evening to present to Drs. Janet Davison Rowley and Mary Claire King the Pearl Meister Greengard Prize, an international award recognizing outstanding women in biomedical science. On behalf of the distinguished jury of the Pearl Meister Greengard Prize and all of us here today, we heartily congratulate you both on this deserved award.
Thank you very much, Andrea. I'm going to take you two over here. We're going to have a little question and answer session. Okay?